Okay, Facebook, Tim Anderson. Today is December 6, 2019. So I've made a couple fun videos in the past few days, but this one's serious. This one's something to watch. This is definitely for the people that are going to be speaking in the next week or two at the Board of Supervisors meetings and the City Council. Something is popping up called the Dillon Rule. And many of you, if you're not a lawyer, have no idea what that is. We need to address that. Now, I'm going to be speaking at some of these. I plan on addressing this comprehensively with the places I'm going, but my videos are being watched all over the state. We need to address the Dillon Rule to the councils and the Board of Supervisors. So first off, let me explain to you what the Dillon Rule is. Okay. Basically, a state, when you're in a state like Virginia, a locality cannot make a rule or a law unless the state of Virginia, Commonwealth of Virginia, has given the locality the authority to do so. That's the Dillon Rule. So, for instance, with the incident in Charlottesville after the shooting and all of that out there, Charlottesville wanted to implement a law that said you can't open carry in the city of Charlottesville. Well, that violated the Dillon Rule because it is allowed to open carry a firearm in Virginia under the state law, and so the locality can't make a law that contradicts the state law. All right. So what I've heard at some of these meetings, the people in opposition say, well, we're a Dillon Rule state. The locality can't make rules and regulations that go against state law. All right. So let's say that Senate Bill 16 passes and it becomes the law. And it's illegal to own a AR-15 on July 2, 2020. Say Virginia Beach becomes a sanctuary city. Virginia Beach can't pass an ordinance that says it's legal to own a AR-15 in Virginia Beach. They would not be allowed to do that. That would violate the Dillon Rule. The Dillon Rule says that Virginia Beach cannot make a law or an ordinance that would contradict state law, nor they can't make any law unless the state expressly gives them the authority to do so. So the state has not given localities the authority to do anything to do with guns. So sanctuary counties and cities cannot make rules or ordinances that go against what the state law says. That's the Dillon Rule. Okay. So that's why Charlottesville couldn't create a ban on open carry within the city because the state law doesn't allow them to do that. So we're hearing people say Dillon Rule for sanctuary cities now, that sanctuary cities can't have a locality rule that says we're not going to enforce the laws. However, here's the talking point, and here's what you have to incorporate into your conversations with your local officials. The legislature allowed localities, municipalities, cities, counties, and towns to create police forces. Now, that is contained at 15.2-1701, and I have incorporated 15.2-1704 in this right here, right above where I'm talking, in the context of this this blog. So essentially, here's the thing. The legislature has given the locals the authority to have a police department. And the powers of the police department are to investigate crimes, apprehend criminals, and so forth. So the localities have the authority, the police authority, to review and enter and arrest criminals. Now, not every crime is investigated, not every crime is prosecuted, not every crime is brought to the court. It's generally up to the discretion of a police officer. How many times have you been pulled over for speeding and the cop gives you a warning, right? So they have discretion. And what a sanctuary city says is that we're not going to use our local police to enforce the laws of that deal with this. And so when you hear the Dillon Rule, it's a way to muddy the conversation up but we need to be sharp and straight as an arrow on this particular point. A locality has full police powers that have been designated to it by the Virginia legislature. It's 15.2-1704. The locality can decide what laws that they are going to enforce and what laws that they're not going to enforce. And that is and always has been the rules in the Commonwealth. And that is what's happening in particular places that deal with marijuana, or police may not be charging people in Norfolk or Portsmouth because they know that the prosecutors aren't going to take the cases up and don't want to see those cases. So you get marijuana in Norfolk, you may not even get a summons from a police officer, and you get marijuana in Virginia Beach, you have to show up to a judge and you may go to jail. Just the difference of the locality. And so what a sanctuary city is going to say is a police department does not have to enforce this particular crime. We're not saying it's not a crime. We're not saying it's not a violation of the law for somebody to have an AR-15, for instance, on July 2. That may very well be illegal then. But what we're saying is that police aren't going to be required to enforce those rules as a community. That does not violate the Dillon Rule. The state legislature cannot tell a police department what crimes they have to investigate, what crimes they have to arrest, and what crimes they have to prosecute. They have already given that authority away to the locals. Now, if the locals want to take that power and exercise it in the way that they want to see fit, that does not violate the Dillon Rule. So here's your talking points in front of your legislature, your city council members, because this is coming up. And also, I think now we're going to see a lot of resistance next week from Democrats at these, and you're going to hear the Dillon Rule be brought up. And so be prepared in your speeches to incorporate 10 or 15 or 20 seconds. Here's the line. The Dillon Rule does not affect how a police department does its job. Period. And that's all you have to say. There's no violation of the Dillon Rule and how the police do their job. So, be ready to talk about it. Be ready to say it. I can't be at all of these meetings. I'm giving you these points so that you can make them for yourself in your own communities. Don't let your board of supervisors or your city council get wrapped in the axle that they can't do something because it violates the Dillon Rule. Don't let them do it. So, hope that helps. This should be the last video you'll hear from me this week. I'll be back on Monday to talk about a few other things to help you prepare for your city council meetings and board of supervisor meetings this coming week. But get yourself up to speed on the Dillon Rule. It prohibits, we are a Dillon Rule state, okay? There's home rule states and Dillon Rule states. We are a Dillon Rule state. Get yourself up to speed by watching this video. The Dillon Rule allows a locality to enforce its own laws, its own police department. We're not talking about the locality making new ordinances. We're saying how it's enforceable. And as long as it's just an enforcement issue, it will survive a court challenge in my opinion. Richmond cannot tell a police department what to do, period. And so anyway, that's our best argument on that. My name's Tim Anderson. I'll see you next week on Monday. Have a great weekend, everyone in Hampton Roads and throughout Virginia and whoever else is watching this. We'll see you next time.